We're going to use ChatGPT to perform a Benford Law or Benford's Law analysis. It's typically described as being diagnostic analytics comparing an expected distribution to an actual distribution. In this case, we're going to use the 2010 census, the first digit of country populations. And so we're going to go ahead and provide that. Let's start by selecting new chat or just typing start a new chat. And we're going to download the data and see what it looks like. So let's go ahead and hit enter as we download that data. And I usually like to ask it to provide some information so you can see kind of country by country what this looks like. It looks like there was no descriptor, so I need to make sure that's included in the data set or go and change my data set. I'm going to go ahead and ask it to provide a data dictionary for the data set. That'll kind of describe the variables and make sure what I understand the data to be what ChatGPT expects the data to be and what it looks like. So it's going to give me some descriptors. There is not a data dictionary provided with this data, so it's kind of interpreting what it looks like, and it goes and says, I think this is a country, and I think this is the population, and what it looks like. So there's just really two data items included in there. Okay, so it looks like there are some potential issues there. We might want to go back and clean up the data, but I think it'll work for our purposes here. We're going to go ahead and ask it to provide the last 5 lines of data. These would be the smallest countries just because it's ordered from most populous China all the way down to the smallest. And so let's take a look at that, and we can kind of see what that looks like in terms of populations of the world. Okay, and so we're able to see that. And, ChatGPT is pretty smart. It knows what I want to do. If I just type in, please perform Benford's analysis, I'm reminding it it's the first digit. I may want to say first digit of each country's population. That would be better said. And so we're going to want to be, if we haven't been specific, we're going to want to check it and see what it's done, or have done our own analysis and take a look at that to see if it got what we think it's going to get. And so we're able to take a look at that there. There is a expected distribution based on Benford's Law, and so we're able to compare the observed to the actual compared to the theoretical, and we can see that these look relatively close to each other. But we'd like to go ahead and run a specific statistical test. It looks like it's run it for us automatically. I guess we've asked for it enough times, but it looks like the p-value looks like we're not able to differentiate between the two. Usually if you want a statistical difference between the two, you're going to have a very small p-value, but this looks like it's almost 1. If we want to ask specifically to run that distribution, we could do so. So we're going to ask specifically to run a statistical test, and so this gives me a little more information of what the null is and various details about this. But you can see the chi-square test, which is typically what we'd use to compare actual to theoretical, and thus we fail to reject the null value because 0.997 is greater than 0.05. So we're able to take a look at that and complete that analysis. So what we could do is ask to see it. We want to compare the actual counts or the observed counts to the theoretical in terms of a histogram. So now we're going to do a count in each of the buckets, the 1 through 9 first digits, and see what they look like actual compared to theoretical. Okay, so this is the actual count and not the percentages. This would be the actual. And so we're able to see what that looks like. So we're asking it to provide a histogram, and let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so it looks like it's completing the histogram and it's doing the counts. I really like for it to be a little more detailed here and see what that might look like in terms of first digits. Okay, So it looks like this is a great case of where it didn't provide what I was asking it to provide. It didn't give me any output, and so sometimes you have to talk it into it and say, hey, please refigure. And so let's ask it to do that again. Please, not the output, but the actual histogram. So I'm going to just go ahead and say, hey, I didn't see a histogram. So I'm going to ask it to do the same thing again. Please provide a histogram. And so that I'm able to see that. And that's kind of the way we work with ChatGPT. Sometimes it doesn't do exactly how you want, and you're going to have to work with it and figure out how to almost talk it into doing what you want. And you may want to use a different prompt. Maybe I shouldn't use the word histogram and see what it looks like. But here, now we're able to see that it provided it by digit and seen kind of the actual. So this expected 59 and there's 59.3, and this one expected 7 and there was 9. But there is no statistical difference between the two. We could also do a difference histogram or do percentages or other things, but I wasn't interested in percent. I wanted to know by numbers what that might look like. So kind of to complete this lab, I wanted to print out the visualization as a file so that I could save it for later or use it to explain to others. Usually what I like to do is save it and then try to comment on it so I can tell myself exactly what I just saw. Once we output this histogram to a file, and here it is, so we can just double click on this and this will provide the PNG file. And I could also now ask it to display the prompts. Now in this case I'm not asking it to put it in a Word file. I'm simply asking to provide or display the prompts, which means it's going to provide it right here. And you can see that I had to do this one twice, right? And so ideally this would have worked, but I'm going to have to work with it. And so that includes that. So that completes this lab.